There is something I wish more people understood about domestic violence. Leaving is not the finish line. Sometimes it's the beginning of the hardest parts. People will ask, why didn't you just leave? But leaving an abusive relationship can mean walking away without money, without a job, without credit, without transportation, without nowhere else safe to live, and sometimes without the support system you once had. Domestic violence is about power and control, and that control can include finances, employment, housing, transportation, friendships, and accesses to resources. And housing is a huge part of this. In 2022, more than 16,000 domestic violence survivors who contacted the National Domestic Violence Hotline reported homelessness, while more than 31,000 reported housing insecurities. The hotline also reported that approximately 84% of survivors had unmet housing requests. So when someone says, why didn't she just get out and get an apartment? It isn't always that simple. There may not be an affordable apartment available. There may be credit problems caused by financial abuse. There may be no income. There may be a pet that comes along too. There may be a disability or health limitations. There may be a waiting list. And there may simply be nowhere safe to go. The housing crisis doesn't disappear just because someone escaped an abusive relationship. That was part of my reality. I made it out. I had a shelter. I had a roof over my head, but I still couldn't find a permanent housing. I stayed in the shelter for 6 months. That wasn't because I wanted to live there. A shelter was never supposed to become my forever home. It was supposed to give Pup and me a safe place to land while I figured out what came next. But finding that next place wasn't easy. And here's another thing I learned. Being physically away from your abuser doesn't mean your nervous system immediately understands that you're safe. After years of being controlled, threatened, watched, yelled at, or hurt, freedom can actually feel strange. You may not know how to make decisions for yourself anymore. You may feel numb. You may feel anxious, depressed, have trouble sleeping, jump at noises, isolate yourself. You may not know how to enjoy things anymore, and sometimes you don't feel happy. That doesn't mean leaving was a mistake. It means you're healing. Your body spent so long preparing for the next bad thing that it doesn't necessarily know what to do when the bad thing isn't happening anymore. For me, happiness didn't arrive the day I escaped. Freedom came first. Safety came first. Then came hard work of figuring out who I was without someone controlling me. And that takes time. Leaving is also dangerous. The hotline notes that the period when a survivor leaves can be one of the most dangerous times because an abusive partner may recognize that they're losing control and retaliate. So if someone you know is planning to leave, don't tell them, just leave. Ask, how can I help you leave safely? Because sometimes the safest escape takes planning. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes longer. And sometimes a survivor has to leave without nothing but the clothes on their back. Sometimes they leave with their dog. They leave with children. They leave with medical problems, trauma, debt, and no idea what tomorrow looks like. But they leave anyways. And that's what survival is. I want people to understand something about my story. I didn't leave because it was easy. I left because staying was becoming more dangerous than facing the unknown. And even after I escaped, I still had to learn how to live, how to make my own choices, how to sleep, how to trust, and how to feel, how to be a person instead of a survivor constantly waiting for the next explosion. So when you see a woman who has finally left an abusive relationship, don't assume she's okay because she's gone. Don't ask her why she's not happier. Don't ask her why she's still afraid. And don't ask her why she can't move on. Instead, remember, she already did one of the hardest things imaginable. She survived long enough to get out. She needs time, safety, housing, support, and the freedom to become herself again. And if you're still inside that relationship right now, please hear me. You don't have to leave today just because someone tells you that you should. You deserve to leave safely. You deserve a plan. You deserve support. And you deserve a life where freedom doesn't have to feel frightening. Because eventually, freedom can become home. I'm a soft-spoken survivor.